You know, there's a growing trend, and maybe you've noticed it, of listings not selling. In fact, just recently I've read 1 out of 10 sellers have taken their house off the market in frustration of it not selling. Now, that may be apocryphal, but there is a trend of listings being on the market longer. Our inventory is growing, days on market is growing. And so what's the key to getting your listings sold? Well, it's getting it priced right. So we've done a video about when your price and their price agree, when your research and what they want for their house agrees, you don't need to confuse them with a lot of facts. You just go right to net. But what happens when your price and their price are wildly different, like a great big difference mathematically? Well, Floyd says pricing is a moral issue. In other words, there's agents who will tell them what they want to hear just to get the listing, knowing it's going to let them down when it doesn't sell. Or they're just going to try to beat them up over price with calling them for reductions all the time. And that gets old for both parties. So how do we get them to listen to reason? Well, there's a dialogue, it's a track actually, with a few steps. And if you follow these steps, you can get your listings priced right. Or you can know that you don't want this listing because they're never going to work with you on price. And either way, you come out a winner. And the first step is to close for the listing subject to agreeing on a price at the right time. In other words, after you've already set the scene, after you've asked all your qualifying questions, after you've looked at the house, after you've put on your marketing presentation, at that point, what if we could agree on a price? What if we could put our heads together, come up with a price we both can live with? Would you consider letting me handle your listing? That's called a trial close. And if you use a lot of them throughout your presentation, by the time you get to the final question, the big yes, it doesn't seem so big. It's just a natural result of wrapping up your presentation. That's one of the reasons why we hear so many objections, is because you wait until the very end and that's the only closing question you ask. It's just too big a decision at that point. If they've made little yes decisions all the way throughout your presentation, it's more likely to work easily. So step one in this dialogue for getting it priced right is to close for the listing subject to price. And then step two is to explain to them why you do research and what comps are. And you know why. It's to eliminate guesswork, right? Even if they've asked you on the phone, gee, what do you think we can get for our house? You say, well, without doing my research, it would just be a guess at this point. So I'm gonna say in step two, something along the lines of, I did my research so I could come up with facts that would support your price. And I went to the limit. I went to public record. Of course, I went on the internet. I used our multiple listing system. I maybe even went down the basement and looked through the old files just to see if we could find the facts that would support your price. And you know what? I found plenty of facts. We're not going to have to guess. I hope you're happy with that. But I did run into one little snag, and that's step three. You told me on the phone you were looking for something close to $1 million. And the result of my research is, unfortunately, I couldn't come anywhere close to that. So it's created a real dilemma for me. May I explain to you what I mean? And that's step four, is ask their permission to explain what your dilemma is. It's an ethical, it's a moral dilemma. A dilemma is nothing more than a choice you have to make. So if they say yes to that, what is this dilemma you're talking about? It's a simple dialogue. This is step 5. I'm sitting here asking myself, do I tell these folks what I know they want to hear, $1 million for your house, just so I could get the listing? That is what you said, right? I hope you caught that little, that is what you said, right? Because if you don't close for the listing subject to price, you can't say that. But at this point, if you did, in step one, do your job and close for the listing subject to agreeing on a price, then when you say, that is what you said, right? Do I tell you $1 million just to get the listing? I mean, that is what you said. Or do I do this? Do I shoot straight with you and give you the facts and hope that just because I'm telling you the truth, you don't go list with someone who won't? So, step 6, leave it up to them. So, folks, I'm going to leave this decision entirely up to you. What do you want me to do at this point? Lie to you or level with you? And like 99 times out of 100, they're going to say, tell us the truth. Shoot straight. What are the facts? And then you take out your comps, your research, and you show them the real numbers, the real data. It's less of a shock at that point. And they're the ones who've told you they want you to tell them the truth. Folks, if you will follow that little track before you take out your comps, odds soar that you're going to get cooperative sellers who will work with you on price.